Speed and Bristol Motor Speedway welcome you back for Food City 250 NASCAR Busch Series qualifying. It is a hot afternoon in late August. Temperatures topping out around the mid-90s on the world's fastest half-mile speedway. Cars being rolled up to the grid, and we're back. Let's get ready for Bristol.
No, we didn't lose.
We never went away. We never left.
That's right.
We've been right here.
Hey, did you leave your feelings outside the racetrack?
You better check them in out there, your feelings and your emotions, because if you bring them in this half-mile racetrack, you're going to get them hurt. You're going to get them checked hard.
All right, now we've got 40. Jeff Hammond's laughing at him.
I know it. He's funny.
J.J. Yaley was fastest in practice, but what are we going to expect to see in this Busch Pole qualifying effort? The teams that went late at Cup qualifying had an advantage.
Well, it's not going to change anything, Steve. The guys that go out later on, like J.J. Yaley, I think he goes out 40th. He will definitely benefit from the cooler temperatures. It may be hot, but it's starting to cloud up. It's going to cool down enough. He will be able to take full advantage of how fast his car was early on in practice. But the key thing right now, guys, is a lot of these Cup drivers coming from the COT car, transferring into the Busch cars. They may struggle a little bit, at least early on.
Like J.J. Yaley right here in the one car, he was the fastest in Busch Series practice. But I think the biggest thing that I saw in Nextel Cup qualifying, and I think we'll see it in this Busch qualifying session, is how tight the field will be. Less than a half a second separated Casey Kane that sat on the pole and a guy that did not make this race. And I think we'll probably see the same thing with these 45 cars in Busch Series qualifying.
If I hold your hands real still, can you talk?
Yeah.
Not really.
But that's how tight you're talking
about. Closer.
I have to have my hands.
Eric McClure will be the first driver to qualify. You see Clinton Boyer driving for Richard Childress Racing. He goes out early. Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch as well, and Stephen Wallace, who was the fastest here in the spring.
There's Eric McClure, local boy. He'll be going out first. And, you know, we talk so much about this racetrack and the draw. That could work against him as far as making tonight's field. But let's take a real quick look as far as the weather is concerned. Steve, it's been kind of like a big factor all day long. You've already mentioned temperature of 94 degrees, humidity 37%. But the main thing is right now, that partly cloudy situation is starting to develop right now. It's going to benefit the guys with a late draw.
We've got puffy clouds over turns 3 and 4, so it is increasing in terms of clouds.
Puffy clouds?
Puffy.
I've never heard the word puffy cloud on the weather.
All right, how about this, smart guy? Cumulus nimbus.
I was just about to say that's exactly what it is.
Mr. Weather Channel. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, puffy.
That would be puffy.
Cumulus nimbus.
Can you spell that then right quick, Larry, and write it?
As opposed to cirrus clouds.
K-U.
So Eric McClure, Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Stephen Wallace, the first 5 drivers set to qualify here. 46 cars for 43 spots. The 08 has withdrawn its entry. Jason White drove that car after an accident this morning. We'll take a break and come back and analyze all of the clouds surrounding the Tri-Cities of Tennessee. Oh yeah, qualifying. Busch Pole qualifying underway here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. First driver out, Eric McClure in the 0 car.
Now, Eric missed the show at Michigan last week.
Part of the McClure family from Abingdon, Virginia, which is not far from here. Morgan McClure Motorsports, this has been their headquarters for many, many years.
16:53 for Eric on lap 1.
And that's not as fast as he'd practice at, Larry. And just watching him on lap 1, it looked like he drove it off into turn 1 a little bit too deep and paid the price for it.
McClure does have to qualify on his time and speed. Bob Dillner standing by with a 4-time winner here at Bristol.
Yes, and he was very fast in this morning's practice session for the NASCAR Busch Series 2. Top 5 this morning. Do you have a shot at the pole, Kevin?
Well, this place, you just got to hit everything right to make it all happen. So if we hit everything right, I think we have a shot. But probably knowing the driver and knowing how he qualifies is probably not likely. But Road Loan Chevrolet has been really good in race trim, and if we can just get somewhere towards the front, we'll be fine.
Kevin Harvick driving his own number 33 here at Bristol. Doesn't sound like he has much confidence in himself, boys.
Yeah, he's just trying to snooker you right now, Bob, because the guy's got 4 wins here more than anybody else. As a matter of fact, he and Morgan Shepherd are tied with 4 wins here at Bristol each. But I think the key thing is he has led more laps than anybody else in the Busch Series when it comes to Bristol. 961 laps. Pretty impressive record.
Yes, it is. We do need to mention Eric McClure did pick it up about a 1/10.5 on lap 2 to a 16:39. But now Greg Biffle, he run a 16:22 on his first lap.
The Biff has a pole here that came back in the spring race of 2004.
Goes to a 16:14 on lap 2. So right now Greg Biffle on the pole.
Greg Biffle won the pole position in the 16 car last week at Michigan.
I think this will tell us about what this racetrack has in it. I know they were indeed very happy with this car at the end of practice, Kyle Busch in the 5.
And Larry, as you said in Cup qualifying, Kyle Busch, the very first winner in a Car of Tomorrow race, that coming here at Bristol in the Cup Series back in March, and he kicks her out sideways.
It just did not want to hook up. Got through 1 and 2 really good. 3 and 4 not quite like he wants. Second quick right now, but I was going to make the comment, how fast can it go? Well, he'll give you an idea real quick how quick the car will go around here, but it just won't stick for him.
Kyle has a pole and a win here in the Busch Series.
May pick it up a little bit to a 16:19, but about a 1/2 off of Greg Biffle in the 37 car. But I think we will see a lot of these cars be a little free or a little loose. It's not unusual in Busch qualifying per the impound rules. Let's watch this right here. He kind of clipped that apron just a little bit with the left front. That kind of got things started, but you can see just how loose, how tail happy. But I think these guys know tonight, as we almost saw in practice today earlier when they were practicing for the race, the car's not wanting to turn. They're going to be a little free right now to be right for tonight.
Clint Boyer has finished in the top 10 in his last 8 Busch Series races. Best finish here in 5 starts, his 4th, his best start 3rd. He's done that on 2 occasions.
First lap, a 16:16 in this 2 car. And a lot like the Childers cars did in Nextel Cup, all 3 of them, he's going to be one and done.
2 wins for Boyer this year in that race car. He got one at Phoenix and at Richmond.
Second quick right now for the 2 car. Again, he got just a little bit loose off of turn 4. It might have cost him a shot at sitting on the pole.
In case you're wondering, the track record set by Greg Biffle.
And I think it will definitely stay safe because right now it's about a second quicker than what he ran a while ago in that 37 car at a 15:09, the track record, over 127 miles an hour.
And did that back in 2004. Stephen Wallace, the pole sitter here in the spring, driving for RWI, Rusty Wallace, Inc.
Stephen has a couple of poles this year, and he was actually pretty decent in practice earlier. He was 10th quickest in his 66 car.
Jeff, you were talking earlier about how good his dad was here. 9 times Rusty Wallace went to victory lane.
Well, Stephen Wallace is working on another pole. His first lap, a 16:07, so he takes the pole away from Greg Biffle right now.
Looking pretty sporty on his second lap, Larry.
Bob Dillman.
David Rudiman buckling into his number 99 Aaron's Dream Machine here, and see if we can get a word with him. David, not so bad in Cup qualifying, a little bit loose. How's this Busch car going to do for you?
I hope it's a lot better than the Cup car was. Now we just, it was really hot, and not that it's going to get any cooler anytime soon. I think the Busch car will hopefully be pretty good. Jerry Baxter and the guys bring me a good Aaron's Dream Machine every week, and hopefully we can post a good lap.
I'll tell you what, boys, hot isn't even a good word to describe the temperature down here right now.
But when I think about David Rudiman, is that Stephen Wallace actually slowed down just a little bit on lap 2, but right now he's on the pole at 07. David Rudiman, Brian Vickers in particular, that's 2 guys that just a few minutes ago missed the Nextel Cup show in qualifying. So the biggest thing they have to do is put that behind them, because they've got good race cars over here in the Busch Series, but you can just see the devastation in David Rudiman by not qualifying for the Nextel Cup race.
Yeah, you can see it real easy. I mean, it is definitely the disappointment right there. And, I mean, he cares so much about both of those operations. and I know he feels very frustrated. But you pointed out a very valid point, my friend. He's got to put it behind him and go out there and do the best he can right now in that number 99 car.
Casey Mears ends up running a 16:23 on his first lap. Right now, that puts him 5th quickest.
Mears has 13 top 10 finishes and 15 Busch Series starts this year, driving out of Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, right now the National Guard car, sporting the 278th Cavalry Regiment this weekend up here at Bristol.
Wendy.
A great run by Stephen Wallace. Had to feel pretty good out there to you.
Yeah, the Unlock News Dodge is pretty good. Running Mount Bristol, I was getting around it pretty good, but I don't think that number will hold up. That should be a good top 10 start spot, good top 15 for surely. But the car drove good, and we'll just see how it runs in a race.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Back to you, Steve.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Casey Kane just took the Bud pole in Nextel Cup qualifying.
He just took one lap in Busch qualifying. Right now, he'll be 5th quickest at a 16:22.
We'll take a break. Looking ahead, we'll see the qualifying efforts of Scott Wimmer, Kevin Harvick, a 4-time winner here, David Reagan, David Rudiman, and Mike Bliss. Busch pole qualifying continues here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Temperature 94 degrees here in Thunder Valley.
Well, the first lap on this 21 car is not going to be very good. Jeff and I was both looking at Scott Wimmer when he came off turn 4 to take the green flag. He was absolutely sideways, which kills the speed down the front straightaway. I think the stopwatch will pretty much say it. Actually, not too bad of a lap for him considering what we were looking at a 16:25. So Scott definitely, unlike his teammate Clint Boyer, he's going to go ahead and run his second lap. And he's going to slow down about a tenth. So right now, Scott, and it was all in turn 4, coming to take the green, 7th quickest out of the 8 cars that have qualified.
I thought he was going to get a piece of the wall. He got so loose right there off the exit of that turn, but he did a good job. Recovered and made a nice lap.
Wimmer finished 2nd here several years ago. Let's go back to Bob Dillner.
Matt Kenseth, we know he's good in the Cup Series here. He's good in the Busch Series as well, but he was slow this morning. Matt, can you pick up your time for qualifying here?
Can I do what?
Can you pick up your time from this morning for qualifying?
Gosh, I hope so. I don't want to be last. Yeah, we didn't run very good this morning. We just didn't really do any qualifying runs, though, so hopefully we'll have a little more speed now.
Matt Kenseth, one of the guys complaining he was having a hard time finding the grip and the setup for it here this morning.
Kevin Harvick, he bobbles a little bit. Still 2nd quickest right there. Decides he only wants to do 1.
Now, his last 6 races, he's been in the 21 car, driving his own car here in the 33 car. And let me just give you those finishes.
Okay.
1st, 2nd, 1st, 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 and I'll be darned, he bobbled at Michigan last week and finished 3rd.
That's depressing. Listen to his finishes here at Bristol. He's got 4 wins. Now, this is since 2003. 1st, 5th, 2nd, 4th, 1st, 3rd, 2nd, 2nd, 8th.
The man absolutely knows nothing but about mainly top 5 finishes and winning races, especially when it comes to Bristol.
Harvick has led 961 laps here at Bristol as David Reagan takes to the high banks.
And David had a good qualifying run a while ago in Nextel Cup, good and solid up in the top 10. 5th in the Busch Series points right now, has the 1 pole at Texas. Right now he's 5th quickest at a 16:18.
1 start here in the Busch Series for David Reagan. He finished 13th earlier this season. Started 20th. And Jeff Hammond, David Reagan brought up a point earlier. He's seeing racetracks now for the 2nd time this year. That's a big advantage.
It's a huge advantage. I mean, for a lot of these rookies, that's when you really start measuring the improvement that a driver has been. It is. If he can come back to the track 2nd time, qualify better, give you more input, and more importantly, during the course of the race, if he can put together a better finish, then you know that your rookie is starting to mature into a veteran driver, and that's what you're looking for.
And let's elaborate on that, Jeff. Is it fair to say that if you're a car owner, you're really looking at some of these young guys with a keener eye, perhaps, to see if they have improved, if they've learned something?
Well, that's when you start feeling good whether or not, your investment has been worth it or not. I mean, that's what you're really looking for. You've got to see improvement because it all comes back to, ultimately, whether or not how competitive can you be. You be able to go up there and lead laps. and do different things. I mean, that's so important that you do that. We take a look at David Ruderman and Larry. You know, David's kind of had his kind of like hands full all day long. He had his car earlier today, got a little bit pushy on him. Next thing you know, he spun out on him real quick. I believe, Wendy, you've caught up with Happy Harvick, haven't you?
Yeah, and he was happy. He was all smiles when you climbed out of your Busch car. How did the car feel as P2 on the chart right now?
The two cars actually drive alike, but I rode on Chevrolet. That was my fault. The first lap I got in the gas too soon, and the second lap I let it roll too fast and about spun out. So I didn't really do much right there, but car's really good, and hopefully we have a good night.
All right, Kevin Harvick getting plenty of water, as you can tell, guys.
Got to stay hydrated, as hot as it is here, Wendy, and they've got to run 500 laps tomorrow.
Well, Jeff pointed out to me earlier when we were at break, you take the guys doing the double duty between practice and all, probably close to 900 laps at this half-mile racetrack.
Track officials estimate 120,000 fans for tonight's NASCAR Busch Series race at the Bristol Motor Speedway. That's Mike Bliss in the 22 car making his qualifying attempt. He was good in practice earlier.
Yeah, he was ninth quickest at a 16:07. He goes to the top of the charts at exactly a 16:07 on lap 1. He beat Stephen Wallace by 2 1/1000ths of a second.
Again, underscoring Jeff Heyman's point about just how tight the field for tonight's race, the field for tomorrow night's race is.
It's what I love about this racetrack.
Thousands.
It's what I love about this racetrack. I mean, it's the great equalizer. And, you know, as we look right now, guys, here comes Morgan Shepherd, someone who has won 4 times at this racetrack.
Boy, he had his hands full as he drove down into turn 1 and 2 right there in this 89 car.
What did you say, Larry Mack, last week? Morgan Shepherd, 65, is that correct?
65 or 66, and I think there were, the number they gave me, there was 11 or 12 guys he was going to race against at Michigan that were not even born when he started his Busch Series career.
Now, Steve, you know it'd be interesting to talk with somebody like Morgan who raced when this track was asphalt, saw the first time it was converted to concrete, and now this change here. I'd like to get his opinion on what this racetrack feels like.
Yeah, right now he's going to be the slowest. He definitely had his hands full at a 16:67. Also, we need to go back right before break. David Ruderman, right now 4th quickest in the 99 car at a 16:12.
Morgan Shepherd, new fans may not realize it, but at one time this guy was as competitive as anybody. 4 wins at the Bristol Motor Speedway in the Busch Series. 3 times a pole sitter.
And the amazing thing at 65 years old, not only is he driving that race car, he drives his hauler. He does probably 70 to 80% of the work on his race car each and every day at the shop.
Brian Vickers in the 10 car drove that car a week ago at Michigan.
A lot like David Ruderman, we were talking about him. He missed the Nextel Cup qualifying a while ago. He will not race tomorrow night. First lap, 16:32. And he picks it up just a little bit on lap 2 at a 16:28.
Wendy.
Mike Bliss said it was a little loose, but a little tight on the throttle. Mike still fast enough. 2 1/1000ths faster than Stephen Wallace. Felt pretty good out there.
Yeah, it really didn't feel that good. It was a little loose and tight on the throttle. But this Supercuts Dodge has been great since we unloaded. Paul Wolf's done a great job on it. And I think our race setup's going to be really good tonight.
All right, we'll have to wait and see if that setup is good as his qualifying run.
Mike Bliss making his 100th Busch Series start tonight here in Thunder Valley, the Bristol Motor Speedway.
The forecast, plenty of sunshine today with seasonal temperatures. Dude, clean up.
Heading back to school? Then head into your neighborhood Radio Shack. Don't just buy stuff, do stuff.
Big crowds demand huge coverage, and only the crew at NASCAR Race Day puts you inside the biggest races of the year. Brad Teague goes around in the 54. Where was I? If you're going to go big. NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot, live tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. That's a half-hour edition, and then 2 hours at 6.
I'm not sure that you've ever had a car spin in the middle of your promo.
That was very dramatic. I like that. Good timing. Brad Teague of the 54 goes around. Also want to mention Brent Sherman of the 36 has also qualified. He is 15th.
Now this was Brad's second lap. He ran a 16:57 on lap 1. That's the slowest of the cars. Brad, definitely one of the go-or-go homers. That's going to be very borderline into getting him in this show.
Yeah, he got loose getting down in a turn right there, Larry, and he just never did quite, get it back up underneath him. Did a good job keeping off the wall, but he's a veteran when it comes to here at Bristol.
Yes, he
Bob,
is.
who you getting caught up with down there on pit road?
Well, how about Dale Jarrett making his first NASCAR Busch Series appearance since 2005? Talking to Eric Almirola, who only has just a handful or so of NASCAR Busch Series starts. Let's find out what the experience and the youth are talking about here. Are you giving them any pointers, Dale?
No, he's fast. I might need some from him. I hadn't driven one of these things in a while. But no, I was just telling him that I was very impressed with the situation, the way he handled it earlier in the year. A very difficult situation. And young man handled it with a lot of class. But a lot of good young talent over here, I know that.
14th quick in this morning's practice session. 329 starts and 11 victories won here at Bristol in the Busch Series, guys.
Thank you, Bob. Dale Jarrett used to drive the number 32 in the NASCAR Busch Series. Matt Kenseth.
John Irwin.
John, that's right, John Irvin. Yep.
And Matt's the fastest of the go-or-go homers at 6 quickest at a 16:50.
I was going to get ready to tell Bob that Matt Kenseth did find him some speed, pick up about 3/10 over what he'd practiced at earlier, but I'm not really surprised. I mean, he's one of those kind of drivers who's going to go out and he's going to do what he thinks. He's going to get the car like it needs to be. He's going to stay on old tires as long as possible, so not one bit surprised to see that 17-car pickup.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth, 3 Busch Series wins here, and of course, back-to-back, 2-time and defending Sharpie 500 wins for that 17 car. That's driver Matt Kenseth.
He's one of those guys I'd call sneaky fast.
Yes, he is. Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 35 car. He is 6th in NASCAR Busch Series points.
Only has a couple of top 10 starting positions here in 2007. First lap of 16:54 puts him 17th quickest. Now he actually picks it up a couple of positions on lap 2 to a 16:47.
Coming up, the NASCAR Busch Series points leader, Carl Edwards, followed by Bobby Labonte. And then 2 drivers who have to make it in on their time and speed, Mark Green and Derek Cope.
Larry, Carl was kind of like his teammate Matt Kenseth. Didn't practice very fast. Actually back there like 37th in that earlier practice session or final practice session. It'd be interesting to see whether or not he can find some speed on these new tires.
Yeah, he's had a rough few weeks. Finished 28th at Michigan last week, and that was his best finish in the last 3 races. But just looking at the tracker, I think he's definitely going to be a lot better than he was in practice earlier today. Lost a little ground off turn 4. First lap puts him 10th quickest at a 16:20.
Carl's trying to tell himself, I can go a little faster, but I don't think it's going to happen.
He knew right there that he was in trouble by the time he got in the middle of 3 and 4.
Hey, he was headed for basically the grandstands over outside of turn 4 if he hadn't slowed down.
Well, Bob, how about the man that Dale Jarrett thinks has a lot of speed?
Well, Almirola didn't have much speed this morning, 34th quick in this morning's practice session, but DJ's won some races here before. Maybe give you some pointers about qualifying here. What do you think?
Well, I'm excited about it. I think our Rockwell Automation Chevrolet is going to be pretty good. We were pretty happy with our car in race runs, and we made a qualifying run there in practice and just way too loose. So I think everybody's finding out that. We tried to get her tightened up enough. Hopefully it's not too much.
And, of course, Eric Almirola doing the double duty, splitting time between this car and the 01 on the Cup side.
Hey, Jeff Hammond, how many drivers double dipping here this weekend?
I counted 19 earlier. 19 of the guys here trying to get a little experience for tomorrow night.
Better drinking water.
Hell, you just never know, because, Larry, as you were talking about, if they run everything tonight, practice sessions and everything for these Cup drivers, they're going to probably put in about 400 to 450 laps, and they got another 500 laps tomorrow, so it's going to put their toll on their body.
It's even hot here during the nighttime, and Bobby Labonte, his first lap puts him 11th quickest at 16:21.
Bobby Labonte got a win here in the Busch Series back in 1991, which I believe is the year he won the Busch Series title.
I believe you're right.
'70 car driven by Mark Green, his brother David, the 1994 Busch Series champion, driving for
Bobby Labonte.
Attaboy.
There you go.
Also brother of Jeff Green.
You see how we weave it all together, Larry Mack?
That's the way it's supposed to work.
We just weave it all in.
That's it.
Seamless.
Now, Mark and this team, they're running a limited schedule. Unique situation. I talked to Mark last week. His son, Tyler, that races in the INEX 600 Racing Legend Series, spots for him on race day and says Tyler has really been doing a great job up there for him. Tyler's about 16, 17 years old.
Mike Bliss is fastest. Great qualifying effort by Mark Green. Now, moments ago, Brad Teague spun his number 54 car. And we are going to take a listen to what it sounded like when he got sideways.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway, where Busch Series qualifying is underway. Carl Edwards had his hands full just moments ago. It looked like it got a little bit squirrely out there for you, Carl.
Yeah, to tell you how much faith my crew guys have in me. Cameron Cobb, a mechanic, came over and said, when I heard it, I was already headed to the truck. He said, I didn't think you were going to save it. So very lucky to get the Scott's Fusion back here in one piece. But I think that the track's just going to get faster and faster. Hopefully that'll hold on for a top 20, but never thought the day would come when I'd be real excited about the COT car and be frustrated with my Busch car.
All right, good luck to Carl today, and just having a tough time on both here in the Busch Series and with that COT.
Thank you, Wendy. Carl Edwards qualified 6th for tomorrow night's Cup race.
Guys, even though he's got a huge point lead,
700.
He needs to turn that attitude around. He don't need to be going there trying to win this championship or trying to win a chase for the Cup like he's getting into, and have, you know, the kind of like, I used to say, the highs and lows like he's got.
Stephen Light on lap 1, a 16:27, slows down a little bit, 16:35. Man comes in here 7th in the Busch Series points. Right now will be 16th.
16th out of 23.
Yeah, I just don't really like, you know, Steve, I don't like somebody that's got bad attitude. You know what I'm talking about? You know, like, you know, bad attitude.
Larry Mack.
I got a wonderful attitude. I love everything. I love everybody.
You want to talk about a gate guard at Michigan?
Well, besides the gate guard at Michigan. But that was only last week at Michigan. I'm good to go now.
So you did leave your feelings outside at Bristol before you got here.
I learned the hard way. I sat in that NASCAR truck many times. I got every version of you need the sport much more than the sport needs you.
David Gilliland 21st on his first lap. Let's go to Bob.
Here is a serious threat for the pole here today. Jeff Burton inside the Holiday Inn 29, second quick this morning. But what do you got for him here now?
I'd tell you in about 5 minutes. You know, it's definitely warmer. I think the track's about 20 degrees warmer than it was this morning. I think the Holiday Inn Chevrolet is really good. I'm going to mash the gas and see what happens.
And track is a lot hotter than it was in practice this morning. Over 100 degrees now is this cement.
Mash the gas. I like that.
Stand on it.
Turn left. Stand on it, turn left.
Mash the gas.
So right now, David Gilliland, 19th quickest in this 25 car.
Mike Bliss is P1, the provisional pole sitter.
Well, he might get a little bit of a challenge out of this gentleman right here driving the 42 car this week. David Stremme, he was 8th quickest, but he really likes this racetrack here at Bristol. Reminds him a little bit of Winchester, places he's raced at before.
In Indiana.
Yep.
That's the home state for David Stremme.
Tell you what, he drove it into turn 3 and 4, and son of a gun, it stuck pretty good. He ends up 5th quickest right now at a 16:12, and most of that gain was right there getting into 3 and 4, and it stuck for David Stremme. So he'll pretty much shut it down after lap 1.
Good energy, Larry Mack.
That's what we're supposed to do.
I was hitting a little low, and you got me jacked back up. I like that.
I pulled a chip out for him.
Weaving it all together.
Weave it all together. Tell the story. Mike Bliss, the fastest of 25 drivers to qualify here in Busch Bowl qualifying. David Stremme, 5th fastest. See, I'm back up on the wheel now, Larry Mack.
I picked you back up.
You did. Dale Jarrett in the 44. DJ goes back a long way in the NASCAR Busch Series.
Tell you what, he's got a pretty good mind working with him there is his crew chief here on this Busch Series effort, Randy Goss, who was actually with Greg Biffle when he won the Busch Series Championship, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Championship, actually when Greg won his very first race at Daytona.
Whoa, hang on, DJ.
Remember, this is a go-or-go-home car, this 44 car, and right now, 1682. That's second slowest of our 26 cars that have qualified, so he's going to definitely need to pick it up here on lap 2.
And I'll bet he knows it.
And he definitely picks it up. In fact, he will race tonight at a 16:46. Big difference in lap 1 to lap 2.
Yeah, nice recovery right there, because, again, I thought they were going to be going to a backup if they'd had to do that, headed for that wall for sure.
Jason Leffler was good in practice. He's waiting to talk to Bob Dillner.
That's right, third fastest, and he's cool as a cucumber inside this race car right now. You don't even look like you're breaking a sweat.
I'm a little bit, but this Great Clips Camry's, this is the most comfortable seat in the house right now. So just sitting here getting ready to qualify. I think we have a shot at the pole, and try to concentrate, get in here, and get focused, and hopefully we can start up front for sure. It'll make for a good night.
After all, guys, this has got to be one of the easiest things he's done lately, because remember, he's changing diapers now.
That's right. Son Charlie Dean, born a couple weeks ago.
This looked like a pretty good lapper here by Ryan Newman. 7th quick.
Ask Hammond how many diapers he's changed.
How many diapers have you changed, the man wants me to ask you?
Probably, you could count the number of diapers I've ever
one
changed.
hand.
No, 2 hands with all the kids.
Oh.
Two.
Last time I asked that, you said on one hand.
For one kid.
a hand per kid.
That's it.
A hand per kid.
That's it. See, that's what he meant. You have to decipher
I don't do
what the man says. But I'm going to tell you what,
diapers.
if you don't quit picking on me, my wife's going to call Chris Sloan.
Eric Almirola in the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. Technically picked up his first victory of the year at Milwaukee. He started the race, led over 50 laps, then gave way to Denny Hamlin, who took the checkered flag, but because Almirola started the race, he gets credit for the win.
And this team got their 3rd win of 2007 last week with Denny Hamlin at Michigan last Saturday. Eric's first lap, a 16:28, right now puts him 19th quickest. And he runs almost an identical time on lap 2, so Eric can have a little bit of work cut out for him too. And Jeff and I were talking earlier today, talked about the importance of qualifying good for the 500 lapper tomorrow night Nextel Cup. Pretty important to qualify good for this race, because this actually is a fairly short race. It will go by in a hurry, 250 laps.
Definitely go by in a hurry. Go back to Eric right quick. Driving the COT car may have gotten him a little bit of trouble because of the fact that I think he was a little bit timid driving this car off the corner like he really needs. The car looked really solid underneath him. Hey, here's my big buddy that went to the Bahamas this past year with, Danny O'Quinn. I ain't seen him in a long time.
Bob, get us out of this. Talk to Travis Quapple for us, please.
A whole group of us, a bunch of NASCAR racers went down there. J.J. Yaley.
Help us, Bob.
People down there. Bob, what do you got going on? You want to go to the Bahamas this year?
I do want to go, but you guys blew it, because I was going to just have a little trivia. Who's behind the 3M colors this week? No, not Todd Cleaver, not Greg Biffle, but Travis Quapple, who had a little bit of a mishap the other night in the Truck Series race. I believe you say you got turned while leading.
Yeah, it's I hate to say that's racing, but that happens once in a while. We had a great K&N Ford Wednesday night, and I don't know. I feel like I gave him plenty of room, and we should be able to race a little better than that. But that's part of it. Stuff happens, and really excited about the opportunity to drive this 3M Ford Fusion here in the Busch Series. Jack Roush and everybody's giving me a shot. We'll see what we can do with it.
And now one of the fastest cars of the weekend on the track, boys.
And 51 that Travis Quapple was referring to was Kyle Busch from Wednesday night's Truck Series race here.
First lap, Jeff Burton, 3rd quick.
He was 2nd quickest in practice earlier at a 15:99. That lap a 16:08 for Jeff.
Mike Bliss, Stephen Wallace, Jeff Burton, and Kevin Harvick. Mark Green in the top 5.
Picks it up just a little bit, but he'll stay third quickest now.
No, he went to the top of the field. Better relook at that, my friend.
Picked it up.
He did. It up. Our scoring's behind up here.
No, just you, Larry.
Slowly. Warren Wallace's uncle twice removed, Mike Wallace in the 7 car.
You mean Rusty's brother?
Warren Wallace says, I'm 100 miles behind you, son, and ready to strike.
Mike's first lap at 16:39 puts him 22nd quickest. But going back to Jeff Burton, I think that's one reason it took the scoring a little bit to catch up. Our top 3 guys right now, Jeff Burton, Mike Bliss, Stephen Wallace, 16:071, 16:076, 16:078. 7 1,000ths of a second separating the top 3.
You did that very nicely, Mr. McReynolds.
Had to make up for that deal a while ago.
Top 30 drivers separated by less than half of a second, Wendy.
Well, Jeff Burton said it was a little loose, but it was fast. How did it feel?
We left the door open for sure. I mean, I got really loose getting in the corners and just kind of knocked me off my rhythm a little bit. Car was really good on the exit. I just couldn't carry the speed I wanted to on entry, but nonetheless, it's a good starting spot for us, and we'll take the Holiday Inn Chevrolet and try to do good things with it.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Wendy Brad Keselowski in the 88 car, driving for Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Navy Chevrolet. 12th fastest on his first lap. He was good in practice earlier this morning.
This will be his 5th start in this 88 car. Ended up finishing 13th last week at Michigan. And Kent the week before at ORP. And right now he'll be 12th quickest in the 88 car.
Second generation driver. His dad Bob raced many years in ARCA in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Perhaps auditioning for a full-time ride with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Shane Huffman started the year in that car. Jason Leffler in the 38. That's the Great Clips Toyota.
And I just believe it will be a while before Dale Earnhardt Jr. names a permanent driver with that 88 car, because the first 2 situations just didn't work out like he thought they would work out.
Better watch this, Larry.
Looks pretty good on Jason Leffler, the 38 car. Top of the charts. First car in the 15s, a 15.94. He beats Jeff Burton by over 1/10 of a second.
And the only driver faster than 120 miles per hour.
Burton said he left that door open, and he definitely stepped right through.
Comes in here 4th in the Busch Series points. And his second lap was a 16:10. It would have been good enough for about 5th or 6th quickest.
So coming up, DJ Kennington, Brad Coleman, Travis Quapple, Robert Richardson, and J.J. Yaley. DJ Kennington in a 72 car, making his qualifying attempt on this intimidating half mile, the world's fastest half-mile speedway in Bristol, Tennessee, the Bristol Motor Speedway.
Now, if I'm Randy McDonald, who owns this car, I'm calling him in because his first lap at a 16:48 was good enough to get him in the show, and he slows down about 3/10. Now, DJ normally races in the NASCAR in Canada, and up there he has a win just recently, sitting 3rd in their points up there.
Bet you ain't got no tracks up in Canada like Bristol does.
Probably not.
I think anybody's got a track like Bristol. Maybe Winchester's a little bit closer. It's about one of the very few tracks I know of.
I'm very confident in saying this. I get fans that ask me all the time as we watch Brad Coleman start his qualifying run, why do they not build another Bristol? You know what? You could not duplicate this place. If you picked this place up and moved it to wherever, it would not be the same, simply, Wendy, because it's not in Bristol.
Jason Leffler beat Jeff Burton by 1/10 of a second. A great run by you, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, just owed all to the guys. Great Clips Camry's running really good. We had a good test here a couple weeks ago, had a good test yesterday, and guys are doing a great job. Our short track program's really good, and I knew we had a shot at the pole, and hopefully it holds up, but if not, it's going to get us in the top 5 for sure. So it's going to be the difference between qualifying good and bad could either be the difference between having a good race and a great race, because qualifying up front is pretty important.
All right, congratulations, Jason Leffler, again, of course, for the birth of his baby boy last week, Charlie Dean.
Well, Wendy, Brad Coleman came close. Right now, Brad in this 18 car ends up second quickest at a 16:05, right between Jason Leffler and Jeff Burton. Great qualifying run again for this young man that has won pole already this year back at Talladega.
And Larry, Jeff, how impressive has Brad Coleman been? 19 years old, 5 finishes of 9th or better, including a second-place run at Kentucky.
Our future NASCAR right there. We start looking at some of these young guys, and Brad Coleman's one of them. We were looking at 16 car. Whoa, hang on to her there, Greg.
This is actually Travis
Kvapil. I'm sorry.
Now this,
so used to seeing him in that.
Yep.
All right, now if you notice what he's doing is absolutely perfectly legal. He's going to turn his car around. If he's smart, he will go all the way back around probably to turn 1 and start this lap again. Obviously, this lap will not be a good lap, but he'll get up to speed and maybe pick up on that second lap.
And I believe the rule is he did not cross the start-finish line.
He's still officially on that lap.
Yep.
Lap 1 is still running.
Almost to the start-finish line. He cannot cross the start-finish line.
A little bit of damage there on the right rear quarter panel, but again, what's going on right here, the clock is still running. He is officially on his first lap, but what he's going to have to do is try to get up to speed and get it happen on his second lap.
But he starts off into turn 3, and this car is never in the racetrack at all. He just takes off, starts sliding up the racetrack, higher, higher, higher. He's trying to save it, and he realizes all of a sudden, I got to get off the brake or I'm going to wreck it, and still gets a little bitty piece of the wall, but doesn't do any damage.
And remember, these guys race in less than 3 hours from right now. Now we have completed lap 1 for the 16 car. And let's see, it was a 22.539 miles per hour average.
85.131 seconds officially.
Car looked a lot better through 3 and 4 that time, that's for sure. It's not going to be a great lap, but it'll be starting at the rear of the field. Jumps it up to 27th quickest at a 16:44.
Like you're pointing out, Larry, that means he jumped ahead of at least 10, maybe 12 race cars real easy.
Which could take you probably 30, 40 laps to pass in the race.
And may use a race car up doing it.
Jason Leffler trying to hang on for his 8th career Busch Series pole position. Back to Bristol after this. Robert Richardson in the number 28 car is not credited with a time. He took his Chevrolet out onto the racetrack, but looks like he shut it down. Meanwhile, we'll follow him and check in with Wendy.
Brad Coleman climbed out of his car and saw Travis Kvapil going backwards on the backstretch. Asked me what happened. Brad, talk about your qualifying lap. Excellent, you're P2 right now.
I'm very excited. I mean, this car was pretty good in practice, but we had a lot of work to do, and I just went out there and drove it as hard as I could, and they made some awesome changes, and the Koreanstown Girl Chevrolet was just unbelievable. I mean, he said I was P2. I didn't believe him. I'm happy.
How do you like Bristol so far?
It's a fun track. This surface is really slippery. It's going to be a good race. It's going to be a good 2-wide race, and the top groove's going to have an advantage, I think. So I'd like to start second.
All right, good job by Brad Coleman. Let's not forget he's only 19 years old.
Yeah, it's fun.
Just having a big old time.
It's like a big old time.
A roller coaster ride for him.
Now, J.J. Yaley, the fastest man in happy hour practice earlier today in the 1 car. First lap, a 16:16. He's 14th quickest. We interviewed J.J. during that practice session. One of his big concerns was basically qualifying the Nextel Cup car tomorrow and then coming over to qualify this current car in the Busch Series.
Reed Sorensen, the next driver out. Look at what happened this morning. Jason White in a 0-8 spins, and Reed Sorensen center punches him. Good news is, got another look. Jason White was okay. Reed Sorensen, of course, okay, but Jason White had withdraw his entry.
And they did get this car here out on the racetrack for some practice laps. The biggest thing I noticed in that replay, Jeff Burton in that 29 car just got by on the top side.
And, Larry, I think that was probably one of the contributing reasons for Reed not to be able to see that wreck in front of him. I think he was so focused on that 29 car that when Jeff made that abrupt move to go to the top side, all of a sudden never set that wrecked car. I don't think he was expecting that.
The old backup car looking pretty good. Lap 1, 16:14. Puts him 11th quickest. He's working on trying to improve that. And he does to a 16:12, jumps up to 8th quickest on lap 2.
The old backup car trick.
Works every time.
8th fastest for Reed Sorensen. Jason Leffler still the man to beat in his Toyota. Let's go to Wendy.
Nothing but a little cosmetic damage on Travis Quapple's Busch car. Take us through that run. It was a little wild for you. You were able to turn it back around and get a full lap.
Well, I tell you what, we had a great 3M4 Fusion in practice, and was really expecting to qualify in the top 10. And I don't know, I drove down through 1 and 2, and it was really tight. So I drove down through 3 and 4 like it was going to be tight, and it was loose. So just got up the hill a little bit, scraped the wall, and I don't know, I wish we could have done a little better than that. It's hard to start in the back, but I think we're pretty strong and race trim, and we'll work our way up through there.
All right, thanks, Travis. I think it's always a learning curve, no matter how many times you've been to a speedway. When you come back to Bristol and there's a new surface, I'm sure it's new for everybody.
Absolutely, Wendy. And speaking of backup cars, Kelly Byers in his 47 car, he had a situation about halfway through the final practice, but his first lap of 16:43 puts him right now 29th quickest.
You know, Larry, Jeff, when Kelly Byers wrecked in practice, he was 5th fastest at that time.
Again, you know, a lot of times you come up here, your primary cars are going to be a little bit quicker than your backup. And maybe a lot of times when you get through a situation like this, and particularly with a rookie driver, you kind of maybe hurt his confidence a little bit. Hey, what's for dinner?
Dinner?
I'll go with
we hadn't even had lunch yet.
Oh, cheeseburger.
Want some French fries?
No, just a cheeseburger.
Okay.
Marcus Ambrose in the 59 for Wood Brothers JTG Motorsports.
Marcus was 32nd quickest in practice earlier today. The final practice comes in here 8th in the Busch Series points. That was his teammate Kelly Byers that just went out and qualified in the 30th position, because now Marcus Ambrose, 12th quickest at a 16:13, loses a little bit on lap 2, but pretty solid run, and in fact becomes the fastest Ford so far in this qualifying session.
And Ambrose has been picking up some consistency. Top 10 starts in his last 3 races, Montreal and Watkins Glen, the road courses, but also the 2-mile track at Michigan a week ago.
Jason Keller, the number 11, making one of their starts here this year in a part-time ride.
Closing in on Tommy Houston's record for all-time starts in the NASCAR Busch Series.
Hold the phone. Did you see that tracker?
Trying to make his 12th start of 2007. 13th quickest, so Jason will definitely race later on tonight at a 16:14.
Keller has 3 Busch Series poles here at Bristol and a win. The win coming back in 1999 in a spring race.
Just lost grip on lap 2, but a pretty solid first lap for Jason.
Plus, maybe the crew chief was telling him that was good enough.
Brad Teague, the driver on the bubble right now, being bumped out. Derek Cope will not race. Jason White, as we said, withdrew his entry after being involved in a wreck this morning. '27 car driven by Johnny Sauter.
Johnny just participated in a few Busch Series races this year.
Drove the 28 car a handful of times.
Yep. Johnny's first lap, 16:37. That puts him 29th quickest.
Kyle Krisaloff and Jamie McMurray yet to qualify.
Picked it up just a little bit on that second lap. Did change the position,
yeah,
but
stayed the same.
Stayed the same there, but he did pick up as far as speed's concerned.
So Kyle Krisaloff in the 14 car. The Lilly Walgreens Ford.
Now, this team is actually owned by Carl Haas, who just formed the alliance.
Robert Yates.
Yeah, with Robert Yates Racing. And the new crew chief this week over here with Bryant Frazier, who had actually been over with Stephen Wallace in the 66 car.
Krisaloff attempting to make his second start at Bristol.
First lap, 16:42 for Kyle. That puts him 32nd quickest. That's a little bit of a pickup from what he ran in practice earlier today. He picks it up just a little bit more, but he pretty much is going to stay right where he was on lap 1.
I think our last car is going to be Jamie McMurray.
You're funny.
No, why?
You're funny.
Hey, this is the one you've been waiting on, Larry. Cue the duck.
In honor of our good friend Benny Parsons.
Exactly right.
Passed away back in January. Used to
missing him very much.
Used to enjoy hearing him say that each
Cue the
week.
duck. Of course, the sponsor of Aflac. And they're very entertaining duck commercials.
Jamie was not that quick in practice earlier. He was 33rd quickest. He ran a 16:40. Right now he needs to run faster than a 16:57, and he will. He's 30th quickest at a 16:34. So we now know, unless he can pick it up quite a bit, that Jason Leffler will get his second pole of 2007. Brad Teague, Derek Cope, and Jason White will not race later on tonight. And indeed, he does not pick it up, so McMurray right now will start this race from the 30th position.
8th career pole for Jason Leffler in his 144th NASCAR Busch Series start. We'll talk to Leffler and give you the entire starting field for tonight's race. The only thing hotter than the weather here in Thunder Valley is Jason Leffler, who just picked up his 8th career pole, and Bob Dillner, the 3rd pole for Toyota.
And the 2nd for Jason Leffler this year, the first coming on one of the biggest tracks at Daytona, and now one of the smallest tracks here at Bristol. But after you went inside the transporter with a couple to go, you were still nervous that somebody was going to knock you off that top spot, weren't you?
Yeah, you know, we were shooting for a top 5 to get the Great Clips Camry in the top 5, and when you get down with a couple to go, you're always, well, you're close. You want to hold on to it. But I got to thank everybody, Todd Losey and all the guys at Braun Racing, Todd Braun, the whole Braun family, and everybody back at the shop for building me great race cars. And our short track program's been really strong, and to get a pole at Daytona and then to come here and get a pole is pretty cool. And hopefully we can hang around that top 5 and have a shot to win this thing at the end of the night.
Now I want to clarify something, because Jason and I were just talking about Charlie Dean, you know, his new baby.
Yeah.
And I understand that, Jeff Hammond, you've actually changed more diapers in your lifetime than Jason Leffler has in the past week or so.
Just one.
Just one.
And my mom helped me with that one. So Allison's been doing all the work, and you know, it's an awesome experience to have a newborn, and I got to say hi to everybody at home, and we'll be back tonight, and hopefully with a trophy.
That's right. Maybe he'll get him a big victory here tonight at the Bristol Motor Speedway, guys.
One diaper?
Look,
so we went from one hand to one finger.
I can't help that you guys had to do a little bit more than the rest of us.
I will say gladly did so.
While y'all are discussing how many diapers, Jeff Hammond, the one thing I'm impressed with the top 10, and I love it, there are 4 non-Nextel Cup regular drivers there. Jason Leffler, Brad Coleman, Mike Bliss, actually 5, Stephen Wallace, and Mark Green, and all of those are in the top 7. Great qualifying efforts for those guys right there. And a lot of them are standalone Busch Series teams as well.
So what it means to me, it's going to be one whale of a race here tonight, because you're going to have those NASCAR Nextel Cup regulars trying to fight their way to the front, and the guys that are already up there trying to hang on.
Saw row 15, Johnny Sauter and Jamie McMurray.
Back on row 19, Dale Jarrett making a kind of rare appearance starting the Busch Series this year.
And there he is again, Morgan Shepherd, 65 years old. He's going to run him 250 laps tonight.
And a 4-time winner, tied with Kevin Harvick.
You don't say it like that. 65 years young.
Young. And I guarantee you that's Morgan Shepherd.
That's it.
There's our pole sitter, Jason Leffler. 8th career pole. He is the 35th different driver to win a NASCAR Busch Series pole here at the Bristol Motor Speedway.
I love this racetrack.
Over 100,000 people will be here tonight to watch this Busch Series race.
And tomorrow night, 160,000.
And I keep saying it, twice as many people that'll watch a Super Bowl.
Sold out for the 51st consecutive time. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, you'll be joined by John Roberts here in Bristol.